It's a meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow. Will you please rise with me as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. As longtime attendees know, this is a part of our meetings where we remember those members of our community who've passed since our last regular meeting. And since our last meeting, we lost Zunilda Rosario Caballo at the age of 86, longtime resident on College Avenue. Our thoughts are with her family and with her friends. Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, first up, we have a warrant which was distributed earlier to the board. If there are any questions on the warrant, please raise them now. For the record, the warrant is $274,983.85.
Move to approve the warrant.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any questions, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? The warrant's approved. All right, we've got minutes of July 30th and August 6th that were also distributed earlier.
Motion to approve the minutes of July 30th, 2019.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I don't see my name in either spot. We're looking at
You're either
July 30th.
not here or here, right?
I know. I can't remember. I'm going to abstain. When it comes to that, I'm going to, I'm going to look it up. I'm just going to.
Can we get approval of the minutes if it doesn't? Let's take on the other. Can you withdraw your motion?
I withdraw.
Thanks. Can we look at the other one while you check that out?
Sure.
You're on the other one.
No, I know. I just have to look this up. I have to read it.
Just want to make
for
sure
what it
that
is.
it's, okay. So we've got the minutes of August 6th.
Motion to approve the minutes of August 6, 2019.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed or abstentions? And those minutes are approved. How we doing?
I was at the meeting, yes. I
Good.
remember the topics, yes.
Okay,
I'm
so the minutes need to be amended to include the presence of trustee Spiro.
Yes.
So with that amendment, can I get a motion to adopt the minutes?
So moved.
Approve. the
Seconded.
minutes. Made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed
Aye.
or abstentions? And the minutes are approved. Thank you. A couple of announcements. First up, and most importantly, this will be our last meeting in August. So enjoy your time away from us. You're welcome. And our next regular meeting will be on September 10th, excuse me. And we'll have a work session right after Labor Day on the 3rd. Also just want to point out, it's a little ahead of time, but make sure that everybody remembers that on Sunday, September 8th, our annual remembrance of September 11th will occur in Patriots Park, and there'll be a ceremony there at 9 a.m., and I encourage you all to attend. It's just not to remember what happened on that horrible day, but also a way of recognizing the work that our first responders do every day here in our village. And also, school starts on September 3rd. So please remember that and slow down. There's going to be a bunch of little kids that are not going to be so great about watching where they are on the street. So please drive carefully. And lastly, I'll get the date out to folks in a while, but we reached out to a nonprofit here in Westchester, Community Capital, that provides financial training and other sorts of assistance to business owners and others in Westchester. And they're starting a program that's being coordinated by our community liaison, Deanna Loja, with several of the Spanish, the owners of businesses here in Sleepy Hollow who are primarily Spanish-speaking. Community Capital provides their training courses in Spanish, which is something that's relatively difficult to find. And we've heard from several business owners that they could really use some assistance on how do they grow their business beyond where they are now. So we're really pleased that we're able to start this partnership with Community Capital. And I'll get those dates out shortly. All right, we'll move on to the administrator's report. Mr. Giacchio.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have a lot of events coming up, and since we don't have a few meetings in August, I thought we'd go into September with all our events. All the Tuesday nights in August are the jazz concerts at Horan's Landing. On August 28th, 5:30 to 7:30, there's a party in the park at Horan's Landing organized by our rec department. In September, we have an event every weekend. On September 7th, we have our Halloween kickoff event at Patriots Park from 12 to 2. And from 2 to 10 that same day, there's the J.P. Doyle's 20th anniversary block party on Beekman Avenue. On September 15th is the Chilean Festival at Sykes Park from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. On the 21st is our cultural festival organized by our community liaison. That's at Kingsland Point Park, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. The Boomer and Geo charity softball game has been rescheduled for the 24th, which is a Tuesday night. That was the only night they could get Boomer and Geo to come back up to Sleepy Hollow. And on the 28th is our Oktoberfest from 1 to 5 at Kingsland Point Park.
Anthony?
And we'll be,
Oh, I'm sorry.
just a yes to answer your question, we'll be having, holding our board meeting on that Tuesday night in the bleachers at the game.
Thank you.
Dogs and beers on Clinton.
Can you double check? I think the cultural festival starts at 10 a.m. instead of 1.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
Beekman Avenue sidewalk design has been sent to New York State DOT for approval. We have a meeting up in Poughkeepsie next week to review the plans. They're almost finalized. We expect that project to begin in the spring. I attended the Chamber of Commerce Merchants Council meeting this last week over at Hudson Anchor Restaurant. Well, thank you, Hudson Anchor, for hosting. We talked a lot about how the businesses in town could capitalize during the tourism season, Halloween season. And they also talked a lot about the comprehensive plan and what kind of input the merchants can have with that. Light shields have been delivered for the Riverside Drive Riverwalk. I know we've had some issues regarding shining lights. Some residents have complained about that, so we've ordered shields. They'll be installed soon. And we've been working with a few other villages on a tourism app that's spearheaded by New York State. They're looking to promote businesses, attractions, trailways all around the Mario Cuomo Bridge. And once the walkway is established, they're going to roll out this app that directs people to all the different sites and restaurants and trails within the area. And we've been working with them about getting all that information to them. In fact, our intern, Daniel Durango, has been great help with that, making sure we don't miss out on any restaurants to get on the list. They're also going to have a kiosk at the informational station at the end of the bridge. So we're excited about that. That's all part of a grant, so it's all free to the village. And that's my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Giacchio?
Yeah, cool question, Anthony. Did the Chamber of Commerce have anything in particular that they were referencing in the, for the comprehensive plan?
Just more generally speaking, on how to encourage business in the downtown, how to beautify the downtown. There was some discussion about zoning. There were some people, actually not businesses in Sleepy Hollow that were there, that were talking about how future zoning could help encourage redevelopment in the downtown. So there was a lot of talk about that. There was also some talk about making it easier to get permits and that type of thing through the building department.
Thank you.
Okay, before we move on to our department head reports, I just wanted to get the dates out for those training sessions with Community Capital. All of the classes will be in Spanish, and they'll be on Tuesday evening starting September 10th through November 12th, and they'll be from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. If you have any questions about that,
6:30
6:30 to 8:30. 6 to 8:30, beginning on the 10th, and every Tuesday through November 12th.
Where will they be?
At the Galgano Building, the Sleepy Hollow Senior Center. Any questions, you can reach out to Deanna Loha or to the village clerk, Paula McCarthy-Tompkins, here at Village Hall. We'll move on. Mr. Ballard for the report on the Department of Public Works.
Good evening to the board. I'd like to first start off with the concrete curbs, ADA ramps for the board for consideration. In my handouts today, I handed 2 memos. One is from me and one is from Dolph's office. My memo first is sort of a game plan that I like to lay out for the village and what has been done throughout the village. So what I did was I laid out projects that was recently completed since I've been here, whether it involved me or not. And I believe it really shows that there's a fair-handed approach to downtown, Sleepy Hollow Manor, and Phillips Manor. With the projects that I listed, if you want, I could read them aloud to you. Okay. So we have Valley Road, Cortlandt, and Beekman Avenue were recently paved and pavement markings placed. We have new streetlights have been installed on Beekman Avenue. We have the Kayak Park at Horan's Landing. Sykes Park, we recently replaced the fence and redid the playground there. Also a fence over at Barnhart Park, Beacon Avenue roundabout down by the edge on Hudson, and some basketball courts. Projects that are under consideration is the ongoing Beekman Avenue Bridge replacement. The edge of Hudson is moving along. Streetlights at the edge of Hudson down by Lower Beekman Avenue.
Mr. Ballard, you
Sir.
said that are under consideration, and I think you meant to
Under
say
construction.
Under
Yeah.
construction.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Okay.
Projects recommended for the future are Beekman Avenue, Clinton, and Cortlandt sidewalk, which Anthony was mentioning today, from Route 9 to Clinton Clinton Street. The Beekman Avenue sidewalks from the roundabout to the Beekman Avenue Bridge. Valley Street Drainage Project is in design. We have the Incabods Landing bulkhead that's on the drawing board, and the paving of Lawrence Street, Hudson Street, and Lower Beekman Avenue and part of River Street. So up in the in Weber Park, we recently did some water relining, and we have the Douglas Park reconstruction. Con Ed is undertaking a very large gas main replacement project there. And what I would recommend for Weber Park would be to do what we're doing for Sleepy Hollow Manor. That is, hold back on 2 years' worth of CHIPS money, which is a value of about $250,000 to $300,000. Combine that with, like we did in Sleepy Hollow, with what Con Ed will be doing, And again, we can do a significant paving program up in Weber Park. Sleepy Hollow Manor, obviously, they did a gas replacement up there. Soon there'll be roads that will be paving, and it's a significant amount, along with the drainage swells, which need to be repaired. And as for capital improvements in the near future, I don't see any on the drawing board right now.
Wayne, quick question. Do you know when that's going to begin approximately?
I think October, yeah. On Phillips Manor, the recent capital improvement projects was the Riverside Drive improvement. We did some work to the train station stairs and some lighting. There are no capital projects under construction right now, but I am recommending that we do some concrete work. Now, if we go back to Sleepy Hollow Manor, there are no concrete curbs up there. But if we go back to Phillips Manor, there are a lot, and they have been neglected for a long, long time. And there was a prior report that I had issued to the board when I first got here of, if we continue with the DPW with the pace of what they can replace, it would be 20 years before we get the area taken care of, which is why the board came forward and said, okay, let's put $100,000 towards curbing. You really shouldn't pave unless the curbing is taken care of. So that's why you want to get that done first. And where I picked the curbing to be replaced, it's practically disintegrated. There's nothing there. But the pavement looks pretty good. So I think it is a worthwhile investment to do up there. And with the other memo that's attached here is from Dolph's office, the way we set the specification up, because we didn't know what the bids were going to come in at, there are line items. So we can take away about $30,000 worth of work. It's specifically laid out here, and keep it under the $100,000 that we had allocated for it as a capital project. So if you have any questions on the concrete or capital projects. Paving,
No, I was just going to say thank you, it was very well done.
oh, thank you.
Comprehensive.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I think it's very even-handed. I mean, everywhere I go, there's always something. I'm sure I missed something, you know, with everything that's going on here, you know.
Well, I think it's important for us, but
Oh.
also the public to see just it from a macro view.
Yeah,
You did that, and I thank you for that.
okay.
So we don't have a meeting, we don't have a board meeting until September 10th, so I prepared a resolution to approve the curbing
Okay.
if the board wants to do that now, because if we wait till September 10th, we might not get it done this year.
No, I'd like to wait until his report is done, I
Okay.
think.
The, as was mentioned tonight, the paving, I believe, will start late September, early October. We're just about there with all the crossing of the Ts and dotting the Is with the contract. I've been doing some work with the Incabod bulkhead with regards to providing information for grant consideration. Street markings of the yellow and white lines is completed village-wide. Parking lines by the DPW is ongoing with Hudson Street parking lot completed, 21 Beekman Avenue, Arrows, DeVries Park, Kingsland Point Park, Continental Street, Irving Place, Clinton Street, and Kendall Avenue. We are also out there painting the fire hydrants. We completed the water valve on Old Broadway. We're doing tree trimming throughout the village. They were just up and down on Beekman Avenue. They also did 14 to Feister, 180 Valley. We have a tree debris removal at 110 Gordon. I just want to stop for a moment. What's good about that is the residents came forward and said, we have trip points on our sidewalks and we want to take advantage of your program, but it's your tree. And we went out there, we can see that the tree not only is in the power lines, but it's overgrown, it's spot, and it's diseased and it needs to go. So it was a good combination to get all taken care of. Con Edison is also in the village trimming many trees throughout the village. Douglas Park is completed. Kayak Park, the only thing that needs to be done right now is some plantings. I have been working pretty hard on some sweeper demos. We have evaluated 8 sweepers to date. We did 5 demos. I visited New York City Department of Sanitation. I also visited service centers in the Bronx, New Jersey, and Farmingdale, Long Island. There are 3 in contention right now. The only thing that's left to do now after all the demos that we did is actually call the end users and see how they are performing with not only that, but with the maintenance and the availability of the parts. I feel very confident by September 3rd I can make a presentation to you with some solid recommendations. just so you know what goes through, I mean, a sweeper is a very complicated machine, has very moving parts, high maintenance, so you really want to be careful when you're going to pull that trigger. So what we're doing out there is, we look at their warranties, we look at what it costs for additional warranties, where their service location is, the availability of their parts, how fast we can get them, their serviceable life expectancy, what they're going to put on the line as to how long that sweeper is going to last. Most importantly is the operator's comments. They're moving it around in the village. There's some areas where some sweepers they couldn't turn around, other areas where they were so high that they hit trees, other situations where they were trying to discharge the load and they had some complications. So that, and then we have the mechanical comments, because he's the person at the end that's going to have to repair the machine. So he looks at it from, you know, what's the least amount of maintenance and least amount of grease fittings in there. And then from that, we ask for them what the delivery of the machine would be, and we want to know what our part purchasing options are out there. And the last one I have is, does it require a CDL? And a lot of these new sweepers do not require a CDL, which is very good for us, because it gives us more people we can put behind the machine. Right now, with our current machine, we only have 2 people who can actually operate it. So they both get sick, it becomes a little bit difficult. We're doing an investigation at 219 Gordon, where the storm drain is backing up and disturbing some property on both sides of that. I've attended many meetings at the east and west parcel with regards to the sewer and the water main. We did some field work to make sure they're doing the installation properly over there. We successfully were able to do a flow test for the edge of Hudson, which is very important, that they were able to meet that. I'm doing some work with the consultant on Route 9 by the 311 North Broadway road cavitation that's occurring out there. I attended a bunch of meetings with the Phillips Manor to discuss their needs, mostly the triangles off of Route 9. I've been discussing with the Hunter Avenue residents with regards to the work that they're doing. I've been sitting one-on-one with Claire. Our new hires are on board. They're doing a great job. They're part of the team. They hit the ground running. It was really nice.
That's good.
Which is why all that, when I found out that Frank was doing actually line striping, and day one, he was right there. He felt bad. I don't know if you saw it, but he spilt a gallon of paint out in the parking lot there. He had to paint it black. It's from him. I feel bad for him. And we are now still, and continue to be, part of the Tree City USA
Paula,
recognition.
I mean, Sarah docked his pay, right? So,
I can't do that. He felt so bad. It was bad. And with that, the DPW will be closed on September 2nd. All sanitation and bulk will be picked up the next day on the 3rd. And I thank you.
Is that the next time you're gonna pick up bulk, is on the 3rd?
No,
Monday.
Yeah.
We have, this coming Monday.
Yeah.
This coming Monday?
yeah.
Okay. I have a hard time keeping track. It's in the calendar. I have to check the calendar next time.
We still get a lot of people putting out bulk at pretty much any time. In fact, I drove through CPL Manor today and there's a couple items. So we have to either do a better job educating the public or, you know,
I think just the reminders, you know.
yeah.
any other questions for
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Ballard?
Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne.
Okay, thank you. All right, Chief Boetti, for the Sleepy Hollow Police Department.
Good evening. We'll get our analytical data out of the way first. Thus far, this year, we've responded to 12,170 calls for service, and we were at that same number August 12th of last year. We had 174 arrests so far, and 2,096 summonses have been issued. we've scheduled several meetings with the school in regards to their safety committee and their school safety plans. That'll be occurring starting in September, January, and then again in March. We do it every year. We set up we meet with the safety committee. They have their teachers and several board members there also. We're planning a drill in conjunction with Phelps again this year, like we've done in years past, only this one will take place in Terrytown. We've been invited to work with them. It's be another mass casualty incident, much like the one that we did 2 years ago. We're also, in conjunction with the Greenberg SWAT team, have been training hospital staff on protocols on their active shooter training. We'll be continuing that come September. As the mayor pointed out, September 3rd, it will be the opening of school. Our officers will start later part of next week. Special attention to school areas, as well as routes kids take to school, and enforcement and warnings, letting everybody know that school is right around the corner. I've been contacted already by the Historic Hudson Valley to set up a meeting in regards to our October, November Halloween season. They have contracted with a new parking company this year to help assist with them, the parking, and also a new security company. So it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. The Westchester County Intel Center, which is where multiple agencies around police departments in Westchester County send a lot of their data to, and they'll give us back some statistical data. They came up with a mapping software for burglaries, so we just joined that also. So they will now plot our potential burglaries if we have any, and there'll also be a brief description of the MO or modus operandum of them. This way we could possibly link several of them together. We also sent one officer to real-time crime every Thursday, which is an up-to-date crime tracking system, so to speak, held at the county police. So essentially, if there's several cameras around the county which pick up there's a lot of cameras that they'll read your license plate, and if it comes back that the register owner has a warrant for a particular crime, they will contact that jurisdiction to go and help locate it. For example, today we had a hit on our camera here in the village, which came back to a warrant out of a suspect bonds for questioning in the recent Portchester homicide. We weren't able to catch him, but they were able to track him down to Tompkins Street on the Sawmill. So that's my report for this month.
Thank you. Any questions for the chief?
Chief, we engaged 2 parking consultants a number of, maybe 6 to 8 weeks ago. One to do a study on most of the village, with the exception of Edge on Hudson, where we've got another consultant. So what I'm wondering is, do we have a timeline where we can expect to get an overview of their recommendations and a game plan?
We are compiling a list to be presented to the board, which should be ready by the September meeting, September report.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions for the chief? Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to public comments. If you'd like to address the board, you may do so now. You can address any subject that you would like. Please be reminded that you're limited to 3 minutes. Would anyone like to address the board? Yes, ma'am. Could you use the microphone in the center of the room, please? Thank you.
Hello, my name's Gia Gallagher. I live on 28 Pine Street, and last Monday, my cat was run over by a car because of the speeding issues on Pine and Weber Park. It was really hard to come home to see our cat just left for dead, and my poor children had to find her like that. And I've been years and years, I've been a resident and living in that house for 15 years, and just watching the traffic get so much worse and nothing being done is, I just want to know what our plan is. Is there a way for us to put speed bumps? Or I've asked the chief of police, he's been made aware of, just have a surveillance or somebody come and watch the speeding on that street. It's so dangerous for these children because it's a one-way street. You have to, street parking and then going over. I don't even want my kids to cross the street to get home. they fly down the street. They come off 448, and they don't even slow down. And then at the end of Pine, there's 2 stop signs, you can't even see them. So they run through that, and they almost go into like the neighbor's house. Other people know, like, we're just in fear for our children. I know that this, village is growing, and there's no way we're gonna stop people from cutting through on Pine, but we need to deter them or make them just slow down, because it's horrible. We need more stop signs in Weber Park, and we really do need some speed bumps. And safer sidewalks, because half of the street doesn't even have sidewalks. It stops, so you have to cross. It's just really, it's a really big issue. And a lot of children are starting school, and they're young, and they have to, walk to the high school. They have to walk to the middle school now, and there's not even proper signage. There's not even proper lighting. On 448, that flashing light in the crosswalk hasn't worked for years. That's where kids have to go to school. Like, this is a really serious problem, and I think we need to do something. And I don't know what that plan is. And I'm here to be helpful and open, but I really think it's time that Weber Park gets the attention it's well-deserved and over time. I have letters from children, like, worried about riding their bicycles, and 5 months pregnant, after this happened, Mr. Giacchio put a sign in for Kids at Play, so I was so happy to see that sign. So I come down my street, and I'm going slow. A van comes off of 448. I can't even see this van, it's so close to me. Then he's tailgating me till I park in my car. He comes out, he opens it, I open my door to get out of my car. He's screaming at me. This is in front of my children. This is not good. We shouldn't have to be put through this. It's scary. So I just really don't know what our plan is, but I really need there to be a plan and be implemented. I've seen people going 30 miles an hour down Pine Street. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a very, very short street. So it's scary speeds. So, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, if we could have copies of the,
Yeah, I also took pictures of the stop signs that are hidden behind the trees. And I was wondering if, we can get the tubing across the road to just, track the speeds and track how many people are coming into the town and all, through that cut-through. Because they don't want to wait at the light. And also, once they come around, at the end of New Broadway, there's the new street light. They speed to get to that because that doesn't constantly go. It only sensors. So people are speeding so they don't miss that light. So the light is longer and they just don't want to wait at it. It's becoming a really big issue. And I'm fearful that a child's going to get hit by a car. They can't even ride their bikes.
thank you, ma'am. Does anyone else? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Jaron Benjamin, and I moved in to 15 Pine Street in Weber Park in January of 2016. And one of the main reasons why we moved to Weber Park from Brooklyn was my wife and I were starting a family. We have 2 small children. Our oldest daughter, was not even a year old at the time, and we thought this would be a great, excellent, safe place. The traffic that just comes off of 448 really worries me. As Gia mentioned, sometimes I'm worried about people running stop signs, and they kind of they would run into my house if they do that. That worries me. And our kids, they play in the backyard. They can't really be in the front yard very much just because we are worried about just too much traffic. People go through that stop sign that's right there. I don't know what sort of statute or regulation would prevent the town or the village from placing a sign that says no through traffic from 448 or something to that effect, or some other way to deter lots of traffic. I understand that the garbage truck and recycling trucks come down and have to make a pretty sharp turn. So I don't know. I would prefer a speed bump to be put up because that's a great deterrent. But I'm not sure that can happen. I would love for that to happen though. The one more point, I'm going to be out of town in Washington, D.C. for work for the week of September 3rd through the 8th. My little girl starts pre-K this year. This is her first year of school. She's super excited about it. But I'm going to be out of town miles and miles away, and I would love to be able to sleep easier. It's always hard for me to sleep away from my girls, but it would be great if I could sleep easier, and I urge action from the village on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone else wish to address the board?
Yes, Morris Miranda. I am Gia's neighbor. I've lived there since 1977 with her husband, who was also my neighbor at the time. We used to grow up on that street, playing on that street, playing all the games that little kids play. And just to get a little perspective on how fast it's going, the street's about as wide as these lights. And we clocked them going down max speed, 35 miles an hour, on an app on the phone. It's really fast, you know. So for a car to hit a cat that I couldn't catch in my backyard when it was playing in my garden, and for a car to hit it, that's pretty fast for the cat can't escape. So for the kids, a speed bump would do it. A speed bump would slow the cars down. They'll come off 448 at 10 miles an hour, hit the speed bump, and then about another 100 feet is a stop sign, and they won't reach those speeds again. So a speed bump is an easy fix. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone else wish to address the board? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Sandy Tripp. I live at 34 New Broadway. I'm right around the corner from Pine. And I will just echo the statements about people racing to the light. I appreciate that you can't control human behavior, and there's only so much we're going to be able to do about people speeding. It's my neighbors speeding sometimes as much as it is strangers in our neighborhood, but people are racing to the light because because they don't want to wait for the duration of the light, is my understanding. There are times when I've had to call my husband back from running down the street and getting into a fight with somebody because he's so upset about how fast they're driving down that portion of the street. You can actually hear them accelerating, trying to beat the light. And so I just wanted to make sure that as many voices as possible were heard. You know, I know that you guys were able to put speed bumps in Phillips Manor around the train station where there were issues there. So I'm not sure what would prevent us from doing that in Weber Park as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to wish to address the board? Yes, sir.
My name is Daniel. Thank you for the residents of Weber Park. I hope your concerns are definitely solved in the future. I just wanted to thank everyone here from the Village of Sleepy Hollow. I did an internship here from May to August, and it has been a blast. I learned so much about life, about business, about how a village works, and government, and local government, the court. So I just want to personally thank Mayor Ray, the Board of Trustees, Anthony, Joan, Paula, Chief Buetti, the Police Department, the Parks Department, Matt, the Village Court, Michelle and Shirley that are down there, the Finance Department, and finally the Village of Sleepy Hollow. It's been a blast here, and I'm leaving for college in the 24th of August, and I'm going to do, it's my final semester, it's my senior year, so it's going to be, a new step in life. So thank you guys, thank you for everything. Yeah.
And thank you from the village, Daniel. It's been a pleasure having you here. Just a quick note for those of you who don't normally come to our meetings are these public comment sessions. There's always two in every one of our regular meetings. And they're public comment sessions. They're not, I used to refer to it as, it's not Thursday in Parliament, but I'm not sure everybody gets that reference. Where the Prime Minister stands like in the dock and everybody yells at him or her and they argue back and forth. And this is for you to tell us what your concerns are. And so it's when you don't hear a response from us, it doesn't mean that we're not listening. It's just that we use this as your time, and it's not a time that we engage in back and forth discussions on things. Having said that, a couple of quick notes. There's the blinking light on 448. We would love to have that back, but the state made us turn it off, if you can believe it. You know, but we had it on, and they said, no, you got to remove it. So it's not us. We really would love to do that. Secondly, the board has been, for a few weeks now, or longer, considering, a few months now, I guess, considering a speed bump and speed hump policy so that we don't drop one in and then, you know, on one street and then everybody goes to the next street to avoid it, but have some sense about how we're doing it. So putting together a policy that we expect to adopt shortly on how we will address requests for or the need for either speed bumps or speed humps. Bumps being the ones that are at a stop sign or a stoplight, and humps are the ones that are in the middle of the street between the corners. Lastly, I lived on Maple Street for 20 years, and I came down Pine Street untold times. So I know the situation really well. One of our trustees lives on Maple Street now, is getting the same view. We're very aware of what's going on there, and there's a couple of things that we might be able to do other than bumps or humps. But I'm not sure which ones of those are legal or practical. When we do look at changes like that, we try to make intelligent decisions. So that means we talk to the fire department, we talk to the police department, we talk to the Department of Public Works about what is that they do on any street in the village, and make sure that we do something that makes sense to all of them. Lastly, the comment about it's us, rings so true. It was always blamed on other people driving through the neighborhood, but it's pretty much Weber Park people, from what I remember. And years ago, we put a stop sign in the middle of New Broadway, about halfway down, went through, we have to have a public hearing in order to do that. And at the time, the threat was, we're going to put in speed bumps and the stop signs. And everybody was, they didn't go nuts, but a lot of like, no, don't do that. And I said, okay, but if people observe the stop sign, we're coming back and we're going to put a speed bump there. So it seems to mostly work. People at least slow down at the stop sign if they don't come to a complete stop. But it's something that we know it's us and it's other people traveling through, and it's businesses and commercial folks on streets all over the village where we have these kinds of concerns. And we're trying to make sure that we address them in a way that makes it safer for everybody who lives here, as well as people that are traveling through. So that's my long response to, we were not going to respond to your comments this evening, but we are certainly going to continue to discuss them and look at what we can do in the short term and in the long term to take care of that. So I thank you for your comments and for your concerns, and just want to reassure you that we're going to address that. We'll move on to resolutions, and I want to add one to that, the list of resolutions, and that is the comp plan and LWRP public comment periods have been extended, I believe, to September 3rd. And I think I'd like to give people an opportunity to, we're going to get out a written document that's going to say what our proposed changes are to both of those documents. And I'd like to make sure that people have an opportunity to respond to those. And since we haven't gotten ours out yet, although I do expect to get it out over the next, before this month ends anyway, over the next couple of weeks, I want to make sure that people have an opportunity to read that and to respond to that. So I would like to add a motion that would extend that public hearing through at least September 10th. So, and if that's not good enough, then we'll extend it again, but at least extend it to September 10th. So that would be continuing the public hearing for the LWRP and the comp plan to leave it open for written comments and at least until September 10th. And if that meets with your approval, well, we'll find out, we'll vote on it. But if somebody could move to extend it.
So moved.
Okay, moved and seconded. So discussion on the motion, if that meets with your approval, you guys good with that? Great, then all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions? Terrific, thank you. I also want to consider a resolution on a curbing bid that we discussed. And we have a NICOM training and a meeting scheduled for August. If somebody could take the NICOM.
Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow to approve NICOM training. Be it resolved, excuse me, the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village clerk, Paula McCarthy Tompkins, Deputy Clerk Joan Bucci, to attend the annual NICOM Fall Training in Saratoga, New York from September 16th to September 18th, 2019, not to exceed the cost of $2,800. And be it resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village treasurer, Sarah DiGiacomo, to attend the annual NICOM Fall Training in Saratoga, New York from September 16th to September 20th, 2019, not to exceed the cost of $2,000. And be it further resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby authorize the village mayor, Ken Ray, to attend the New York State Power Authorities Conference in Albany, New York, from October 7th to October 8th, not to exceed $500. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? The resolution's approved. Thank you, folks. Thanks for not saying it's for much-needed training. Mr. Levy.
Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow awarding curbing bid. Whereas the village duly solicited bids to repair curbs on certain streets in the village, and whereas Peter J. Landy, Inc. of Hawthorne, New York has been identified as the low bidder with the lowest unit price, and whereas all bids have been reviewed by Dolph Rotfeld Engineering, who determined this bid to be acceptable and has recommended its approval. And whereas funds have been allocated in the 2018 capital budget, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees herein accepts the bid from Peter J. Landy, Inc. of Hawthorne for curb work on certain streets in the village at a total bid amount not to exceed $100,000. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays or abstentions? And the resolution's approved. Thank you. We have one for the meeting schedule.
Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow, setting meeting schedule. Be it resolved that the mayor and the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow set the following Board of Trustees meetings scheduled for August 2019 as follows: August 6th, work session; August 13th, board meeting; August 20th, no meeting; August 27th, no meeting. And be it further resolved, the mayor and the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow set the following Board of Trustees meetings scheduled for October of 2019 as follows: October 1st, work session; October 8th, no meeting; October 15th, board meeting; October 22nd, work sessions; October 29th, board meeting. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? The resolution's approved. Thank you all. That completes our resolutions for the evening. Is there any old business or new business? And any communications or petitions?
No communications. I do want to mention, Paula, we couldn't make it tonight, but we're going to be doing some training in September. We're going to bring all our emergency services in and discuss how to better handle fire scenes when we've had, unfortunately, a couple recent fires in the village. And I think we need to do a little better job on how to coordinate that. It's always good to prepare for the future. So I did want to mention that we're planning on doing that training.
Great. Thanks, then. I did have one communication that I wanted to share with the board, and as I had the opportunity recently to meet with a bunch of students who are taking part in a program that Hackley does over the summer that I believe is in its third year, or just finished up its third session, summer session, and it's called the Hudson Scholars, and they bring in students who are not Hackley students, who are residents in Sleepy Hollow or Tarrytown, and have an intensive summer session with them, and 5th through 8th graders, I believe. And I had the opportunity to speak to the 8th grade group, and they were, part of their studies were on government, and they wanted to know how we do what we do. So it was I had a really good time. It was fun, and I got a letter back from them, a couple of points, and when thanking them me for being candid, which means I told them for real how it works, because there was no cameras, and but they then, after that class and after they finished, one of the final things in their session was to do a survey of businesses in Sleepy Hollow and Tarrytown, and to talk to business owners and other folks about what they thought some issues were. So I thought it was really great that they got out and did that. And they sent me copies of their findings, and so I want to circulate those with the board, and just wanted you to know where it came from. So thank you, Hackley, for doing this for Sleepy Hollow kids who are part of our local school system, and the kids were picked based on how well they were doing, so it was a bunch of really sharp kids. And then we're mentored by kids who are in the high school at Hackley, so I think it was a really cool opportunity for folks. And I'm looking forward to addressing some of the things that they raised in their letter from their findings. So I'll make sure that everybody gets a copy of that. Second opportunity for public comments. Would anybody like to address the board? And hearing none, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn today's meeting?
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and good night.